Bring out your dead. Bring out your dead.
But I'm not dead. I'm not really dead yet. I'm still alive.
That's when I beat you over the head. All right, I'm Swiss Guard, and I'm coming to you live from Ground Zero of the Plague, where, behind that wall is a cantankerous 2-year-old who has been crabby and hacking up over everything, and, it spread like wildfire. So,
Yeah. Oof. How are you holding up there, sir?
so far, my immune system seems to be holding the line. And it might be a placebo, but I take that emergency stuff or whatever it is that or this crud you take on when you get like airborne or whatever before you get on an airplane. And like I said, it may be a placebo, but I'm cool as long as the placebo is working. So
Yes, I'm a big believer in the placebo of airborne, so definitely helps.
And so as you heard, and I warned him, I said, I'm going to start off with a joke. And if he didn't get it, his geek card would be revoked. But I should have had more faith in him, of course. Well, we'll get there. But I'm joined by DB.
Is this the point where I clap my coconuts together as I run over to the screen?
If you want. I'm sure that we could spend all night just, quoting that movie if we.
Yes, we can. But how are we going to get through our news in 30 minutes if we?
We won't. If we go down the rabbit hole of, and that's just, obviously that's just one fantastic movie. There's so much more on the landscape of Monty Python. But, all right, so let's see if we can actually get under 30 minutes tonight.
All right, so here we go. Start the clock.
All right. First story. It wouldn't be. Oh, of course, this is E2KGn30. This is our new show, where we're setting the record for the most E2KGn30s that we've ever done. According to this, it's episode 35, but I'm not sure if that number is correct. And we'll blame Prime if it isn't, because he was the one that initialized the agenda. But for Thursday, March 22nd, 2018. So we're picking our favorite news articles for the week. And our first one is from me, and I found this on GameSpot. Wouldn't be E2KGn30 if we didn't have some industry kind of marketing business news. So Ubisoft is safe. Following takeover concerns, Vivendi will sell off its stock. So I think we did cover this several months back. Ubisoft was a little bit worried and concerned that Vivendi was compiling more and more Ubisoft stock. And apparently in France, I think where they're headquartered, if you get so much, you have to try to do like a takeover. It's like by law.
30%. If you get 30%, then you are mandated to attempt a hostile takeover.
And they had gotten up to 27%, and Ubisoft did not want them to take over. They wanted to be their own company, and they don't have to worry about it anymore. So Ubisoft reached an agreement with Vivendi. Vivendi is selling its stock basically back to Ubisoft, and then Ubisoft is kind of dividing it up amongst multiple entities. So the first is the Guillemot. I don't speak French. Basically, the brothers that own the company, the private company, they'll get some stock. Ubisoft will initiate a buyback for some, and they'll get 2 additional like major long-term investment partners. Ontario Teachers Pension Plan, which I thought was an interesting one.
I know, I love that one. I was like, really? That's great.
It's pretty cool.
Investing in video games for the future of our children.
As long as it, I mean, we talked about this a little bit, like gamers are aging. So, eventually we'll all be on pension plans, and we don't live in Ontario, but it'd be cool if part of our retirement was tied up in Ubisoft, or maybe it wouldn't be. We'll see. But the other one, the major one, is Tencent. And they're the Chinese company that they own a stake in a lot of stuff, including Epic. So Tencent now owns 5% of the company, and Ubisoft is trumpeting that as a means by which they're saying we're making a push for the Chinese market, as most business companies are trying to do. So I guess that's good news for Ubisoft. They don't have to worry. They can kind of run the company as as they envisioned, and they have a foothold kind of partnership starting to grow in a huge market.
Yeah, no, this was definitely one of my top stories for the week as well. I think I've been following the Vivendi story. It's been a number of years since they kind of started the hostile takeover, and they've been fought back at multiple turns. So it really does. It's interesting to see how it all plays out at the end, and that Tencent comes in and again, not a controlling market share or investor piece at all, but enough to give them a reason and to invest with Ubisoft in order to get into more of a mobile market. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that.
Where is the Skull and Bones? There are they in? They're in Hong Kong, right?
I don't know if it's Hong Kong or if it's Thailand.
Okay,
I'm not sure.
okay, I'd have to look that up. But all right, next story. Um, another uh financial story.
Of course, right? So
Yeah.
another story, and actually talking about the strength of the mobile market. This one really stood out with me. We have talked about this on other E2KGs. Actually, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, that Prime and Glasscleese were talking about Fortnite on mobile and the kind of sudden release of the beta of it. And so within the 4 days that Fortnite on mobile has been out, it has made over $1.5 million in revenue. So again, part of this is 4 days of $1.5 million in revenue is a great number to begin with. But then there's the other piece of this where the Fortnite is only on iOS and it's only by invite at this stage. And granted, the invite's relatively loose. You need to know somebody who sends you. I mean, right? It's not, but it also means that it's not can't be trumpeted yet on the main homepage of iOS. It's not even on Android platforms yet, and so and it's already made 1.4, 1.5. So it's not as huge as things like the first 4 days of Pokemon Go or Clash Royale, both with which made over $4.5 million. But again, both. We're not a beta release. We're not an invite only, and so we'll see how this continues. But it definitely shows the strength of the battle royale market. It shows the strength of Fortnite as a growing brand, and so it'll be interesting to see how that continues to play out.
Yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, 2017, everyone was talking PUBG, 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 and then Epic kind of comes out with the Fortnite, and people are like, "Oh, what are they trying to do? Knock it off!" And wow, they've it's
Yep. No,
been an
I've
impressive run.
it really has been. It's been just before I got on the show tonight. My son in the other room is playing some Fortnite Battle Royale as well. So it has hooked him. And it's been kind of interesting to hear somebody else talk about it from a younger generation type of view. So it's interesting. Anyhow, but we have, speaking of generations, we've got an older generation coming back from the dead, or maybe just grasping onto life.
Yeah, this is why you're good at your next. I know you're technically not hosting tonight, but that was an excellent segue, by the way. So we got the we got the Atari Box console, and they released the official name, the Atari Box. Excuse me, the Atari VCS, which confused me because I thought the Atari Box was kind of be their thing, but then I guess people are like, why are you trying to knock off the Xbox? I don't know. But it was just the other day I was thinking, you know what? We hadn't had some Atari news in a while. And then it was it was freaky. Like 10 minutes later, I saw an alert on our chat client. I think Prime had flagged this or something. Or maybe you had.
No, I think it might have been Prime, but yeah, we are all eagerly mortified by the potential of what this is and how much of it is an actual console and how much of it is a NVIDIA Shield or some other type of Ouya device that has some wood grain on it. So what do we know about it now, Swiss?
So we got the beyond the actual name, the Atari VCS, which to me sounds like a throwback because I want to say VCR the whole time. Uh, they also released images and a little bit of details on the controllers. So obviously, if they're going to have an Atari console, they have to have the throwback joystick. Um, and but they also, I guess, with the intent of having more modern games, do have what looks to be kind of an Xbox One-ish, kind of a Steam controller-ish, more standard modern controller. And I'm trying to get, yeah.
Yeah, the controller it's got the left stick is bright red, like in the same placement as the original 2600
Button,
single button on the
right.
stick. Yeah, it's a
Th-
kind of a
And then
neat
they have
callback.
the like a kind of the circular D-pad thing going on, like the Xbox, to the to lower right of that, a right thumbstick, and then I think they went with the typical four face buttons, and they are going with A, B, X, and Y, a la Nintendo. So, um, see, they said be a full PC experience for the TV, bringing you streaming, applications, social browsing, music, and more. Atari VCS will support preloaded retro Atari games as well as current titles from a range of studios. So I'm hoping, we'll see some more news, more substantial stuff. We haven't gotten to the meat of it, which is how it's actually going to entertain people, and that's coming. But
Yeah, and it still seems like that price tag is still in the full-on console price tag range of 250 to 300.
oh, I didn't see that in the article.
I don't
But
think it's again. I think that it was referencing what they were hoping to because they were doing some type of crowdfunding campaign for it, and so
okay.
that was some of the numbers that were out there for that.
Um, but yeah, it's still kicking. Every time
Yeah,
I
I mean,
start to think, I'm like, man, it faded away. Vaporware dissipated in the wind, and then they come out with like, oh, we're still here, guys. But
I think that if it could be priced at a way that is a Walgreens CVS type of pickup, it could very well sell well. I mean, right? There's still a market there, but I don't know what it's actually going to be. And other than kind of this niche counsel for somebody to say that they own it, granted, which means at least one of us on this podcast will end up owning it. But in terms of a
you can
successful
place your
market,
bets on the cast member that will fork over the cash for that. We'll
yeah,
do
I,
like
I
a contest or
I think
something.
the odds are Vegas odds probably have a Glassicles and myself is probably the highest favored, even
I
though
would
he's
agree.
already sworn it off. But it is a new
Well,
piece of tech, so
honestly, I think he'd have the edge, even though he despises it. Like, there's the other part of him that compels him to experience everything that flows through. And I think he'd feel guilty if he didn't get it.
okay, everybody watching this, in the comments below, now's your chance to place odds on which of the four cast members from the E2KG network will be purchasing this. And I think you
The
could even
first,
give a window, right? Is it 2-1 that a Glassicles is going to get it within the first week? Is it? I would say is it 3-1 that DBQ is going to pick it up before the holidays over? What are your odds on this one? So you've got some creativity here.
yeah. I'd like to hear your reasoning as well. So, how well do you know the E2KG stars? um, okay, so next article. We got some Google news, Google Play.
Yeah, so my news has been mainly mobile this week, which I guess is probably the fact that we're close to the end of a quarter and there's not a whole lot that's coming out yet. I mean, in terms of news, but it's also Game Developers Conference this week. So GDC is happening this week, and I expected there to be some interesting announcements coming out of it. There was an interesting platform that Amazon debuted to allow cross-platform play for multiplayer games between mobile, PC, and console. But I think the thing that was most interesting is the Google Play Instant is what they're calling it. So instead of downloading a game on the Google Play Store, there will be they're in beta mode right now, but there will be a subset of games that will allow users to launch them instantaneously. So kind of a streaming service that it'll end up doing a progressive download, or the potential for it, right? Instant comes with a couple other extensions on the developer side for progressive download, so that it can be downloading as it's playing, a different, I guess, additional APKs and a number of other tools for developers. And I think really the pitch here is that, and the reason I pulled it out is that it makes mobile gaming all the more accessible at that stage, right? That if you are maybe data capped, or that you're out and on a road, that this may be a way that you're not downloading something. Again, you've got to be streaming it, so you're going to get some data, but I, I don't know what it will end up being, but to me it struck out as an interesting topic of not only what we were talking about on Tuesday in terms of PlayStation Now and Game Pass, and that idea of streaming services and subscription services, but if mobile is also moving in that way where it has the potential. And I think that here's the insidious piece of it, and I'm saving this to the end, is I think the real hook of it is that when you get an in-game ad that allows you to click to go to the Google Play Store, instead of going to the purchase page to click download, it will automatically start playing that game, or there's the potential to automatically start playing that game. So that in-game ad on that free game now actually within one click will take you right into the game to start playing, which has I would think, the increased potential to kind of hold on to players, to maintain their engagement, to hook them sooner. And so I think that there are, within kind of the gamer retention psychology mindset of that, this is where this really plays in probably not the best, consumer friendly type of ways.
Yeah, I kind of got my thoughts kind of went to being in like a Best Buy or a big box store. You can tinker with stuff before you buy it. And maybe this is a way that they can, in theory, kind of get try before you buy type thing. And it sounds consumer friendly, but I definitely know there's money on the back end. And the other thought I had was, is this going to be open to every developer, this Google Play Instant, or is it going to be kind of like a premium storefront for the big players? In which case, the rich kind of get richer type thing. With like Twitter, you're not really someone unless you have the blue check mark, right? It's kind of going to be, well, is the app going to be in Google Play Instant? Is it going to it might lend a more credence to if you get to that level, oh well, this is a real app as opposed to all that stuff that doesn't support any of this live play. I don't know, that might be overthinking it.
Well, it certainly has the potential to kind of split the market, or at least bifurcate it a little bit in terms of developer preferences, and But at this stage, it really seems like it's the beta and alpha versions of this. They've just announced it as a feature, and that they're doing some initial trials of it. It's slated to open up to more developers later in the year, but right now that interested devs can apply for consideration, right? So they definitely are holding on to the fact that it could be a gatekeeper type of thing, that if you can show the numbers within the Google Play Store that you've pushed out X number of downloads and X number of sales, that you qualify for this type of top tier that you're describing. So yeah, it could end up creating the rich get richer, and the small indie devs get buried further back, right? And that's another thing we haven't even talked about, is if that is a feature, then on your highlighted, Play homepage, or the games page, do those games get featured more prominently or more frequently? Does the algorithm tick so that they become more popular because they get hit on more, and so other things get buried further and faster?
Yeah, and it's not exactly the friendliest friendliest market for discovery if you're a small player. So already. All right. So as you alluded to earlier, GDC is going on, and they gave out some awards for I guess
For all
last year
kinds of
in
stuff.
gaming. Yeah.
Yeah, for last year for the Gaming Awards. So this is the Game Developers Choice Awards. So earlier in the spring we had the DICE Awards, but now in the Game Developers Choice, tying in with GDC. Again, a lot of similar names that pop up on this list. So I'm going to run through it and feel free to jump in at any point in time here, Swiss. So best audio is Breath of the Wild. Best debut is Cuphead. In the studio behind it, MDHR. Best design, Breath of the Wild. Best mobile game, Gorogoa, which
You
is a
heard of that one? I haven't
yes,
heard.
I own it
Okay.
on Switch. I
I'm
purchased it
pretty
on Switch.
blind to the mobile market,
It
but it's
is
on Switch
this
too, huh?
amazing kind of storybook puzzle game where at first my wife and I started playing it, and at first you you see how like the images shift as you're coming in and out of them, and it helps you solve the puzzle. And at first I felt like, oh wow, this is really creative. And then as I got better at it and I was solving it, I switched to, oh wow, I'm really creative because I'm figuring this out, right? It had that kind
Mhm.
of click. So it's a really neat experience, and it is on Switch as well,
I'll
in
make a
addition
note of
to
that.
mobile. So, What Remains of Edith Finch as best narrative, best technology goes to Guerrilla Games for Horizon Zero Dawn.
Now, that to me, it feels like Horizon Zero Dawn is like everybody's second or third choice, and then they feel like they have to acknowledge it somehow. So that's kind of like the Oscar for best set design or whatever.
Cinematography. I mean, in some ways, it
Yeah.
is a cinematography type of. Well, maybe art design is somewhere in there too. But yeah, I think it is. I would put it higher than the special effects awards from the Oscars, closer to probably editing and cinematography, because it really is amazing tech. But you're right. In a year that people seem to continue to go the Breath of the Wild route,
Hmm.
that Horizon Zero Dawn gets second chair there.
It happens.
So let's keep going down that list here. We've got visual art. So this is art design for Cuphead. Again, not a huge surprise there. Game of the year, as we were just talking about, is not the second run of Horizon Zero Dawn, but it is Breath of the Wild. And then there is also best VR AR game, and that goes to Super Hot VR. And then the audience. So there was an online poll that people could take, and this was Near Automata. So a little bit of representation from a lot of big players from the last year, and with some notable recognition there for the two big kind of open world games with Horizon Zero Dawn and Breath of the Wild. So not a whole lot of surprises. I was kind of excited to see the Garagoa hit there, but otherwise, most of these are names that have come up again and again on a lot of other award shows.
Mhm. I can't argue with any of it really. So it's they're there for a reason. Zelda's there for a reason. And Near Automata always seems to have that needs to be in that little niche, tip of the hat category. So and what little I played with it of it, uh, I really enjoyed it. And I only played a couple of hours because I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not going to start this yet. I want to be able to devote some time to it, and that's coming up soon on my backlog. But
See, there's
I think
another
it's
game you could put for your playlist.
yeah,
So
that's. I think I have a few, so
I'm
I'll have to
sure
go
we
back
all
to it.
do. Yeah, no, right? I think that's a well-deserved honor for Near Automata as well. So great to see that it's resonated with players. So you got our final story of
Yep.
the night as we're rounding into the last 5 minutes or so. So take us home here, Swiss.
All right. So it feels like there's been a lot of remasters announced lately. Obviously, we just had Shadow of the Colossus released in February. Last month, I think it might have been announced last month and already released, but Burnout Paradise, which
Came
still,
out on Friday. Yep.
right, still angers me.
Oh,
um,
see, and I'm on the other side of that camp. Like, this is great. But
no,
let's keep going. There's plenty of other
yeah.
remasters to happen.
So another one that's coming out in September is Zone of the Enders 2. Now, I think this is another one of those cases where they redid it in HD, and they're actually going through and kind of polishing up the models and everything. So it's more than just, oh yeah, we'll put it in HD rather than SD. It looks like they did polish the graphics up some based on the trailer I saw. For those of you that don't know, Zone of the Enders is this like mech space kind of action game, PS2 era, and I know it because I got it. I was one of the fools that it wasn't a fool. I liked the game, but I was one that was sucked in because it had the Metal Gear Solid 2 demo when it
That's what
was
I was just gonna
released back
ask.
in the
Was it? I
day.
couldn't remember if it was Zone of the Enders 1
It
or
was
Zone of
the
the Enders
first
2.
one. It was
Okay.
the first one, and I never got around to playing the second one. So I'm actually kind of intrigued by it, and hence its inclusion in E2KGn30. And did you ever play? Sounds like you played the first one.
No, I did not.
You never played any of them. Okay.
Nope, I did not. But I'm aware of them, so I find it interesting that it's that this is the type of remaster that we're getting. So, but again, it's Konami, right? So they
Yeah,
don't
they're
have a
they're
whole lot of other stuff going on right now.
they're going back on their franchises that they have. They're leveraging their IPs, and I get it. And you know, it is what it is. It's the state of. I feel like at least in video games we have a little bit more. Well, I shouldn't say that. Sometimes it feels like we have a little bit more fresh ideas in video games, and I just saw like in movies. What was it? The headline on IGN was like Chris Hemsworth and who was the actress that was in Thor 3 with him? Uh, they're going to be
No,
in a new Men in Black movie, and it's like, why can't we have fresh stuff? We're getting like Mary Poppins and Men in Black, and come up with something new. But anyway, off my soapbox.
it's one more cranky gamer hour. So,
All right, do you want to cover this day in gaming history?
sure, we'll go through this real quick as we head out for the night. So, March 22nd, 9 years ago, 2009, Pokemon Platinum came out for the DS. So this was the third iteration of Pokemon within the Pearl and Diamond series. So again, big seller on DS. It really kind of hit big. This was at the peak of, or kind of as the DS had peaked back in the late 2000s in terms of install base. So a very popular game there. And another popular game that eventually became a huge franchise. 22 years ago today, Resident Evil for the PlayStation was released. So again, not necessarily an amazing game in its time, but one that has been remastered plenty of times over the years, but again has started a franchise that has lived on and has created a long legacy as well.
All right, so we're coming up on the 30-minute mark. I want to do one plug in the outro, which is an article on GameSpot. It would not be an episode hosted by DB and SwissGuard. It's not a good episode hosted by DB and SwissGuard unless we reference Star Trek. So GameSpot has a cool interview with Armin Shimmerman, I think his name is. He played Quark in DS9, and he's talking about his experiences on Star Trek, and he will be reprising his role of Quark in the new Star Trek Online expansion coming June. But it wasn't worthy, I think, of headline.
I think the fact that there's a Star Trek Online expansion that is still coming out, right? Star Trek Online is a game that we're talking 8 years that it's been kind of up and running in some capacity.
Screenshots I've seen indicate that age, but
yes.
Yeah. So
yep.
if you're a Star Trek fan, check that out.
All right. Well, Swiss, thanks for hosting.
Yep. I guess for DB and myself, that'll do it. We actually got in under 30 minutes, probably for the first time ever. So have a good night, everyone.